This is your instruction video for staining grids for viewing by transmission electron microscopy. So before you come to class, I'm going to take 1 ml of your high titer lysate and spin it in a microcentrifuge for 1 hour at 4 degrees Celsius. So at this point we will have some of your sample pelleted down to the bottom of the tube. So the phage is down at the bottom. So we're going to take off the extra liquid. So we're going to be careful not to disturb all of the phage pelleted at the bottom. So we'll suck off from the top. And then to kind of reconcentrate this, we will add 100 microliters of phage buffer. And then mix that up a little bit with the pipette tip. So now your sample is concentrated and ready to use for staining your grids. Now we're going to prepare our plates that we can put our grids onto. So you're going to each have a plate, a piece of parafilm, and a Pelco tab. So you should take just a little bit of water with your pipette. Let's see, this is about 20 microliters. And the only reason I'm putting water in the plate is so that my piece of parafilm will stick more easily to the plate. So I'm going to peel the paper off of my parafilm, stick that to the plate. And then this Pelco tab is kind of like a double-sided sticky thing. So we'll peel off one piece of paper and stick it to the parafilm. And then remove this other side. Then I'm going to take my thumb and kind of press it down onto that Pelco tab to kind of get the oils of my finger onto it. And then I'm going to write the name of the phage I'm going to be staining. So let's just say this is apple. And now my grid is ready for being placed onto my plate. So now you're going to put on some gloves and move over to the staining stations. So we have 2 stations set up because the urinal acetate that we're going to use to stain, you don't want to spread that all around the lab. So your grids are these really tiny pieces that come in a container like this, and we have some layouts to show you which grids have already been used. So on this side we have grids that have already been used by other students. So I'm going to pull a grid from this unused side. These are special EM forceps. So these are really delicate and you never want to lay these down without having the cover on the forceps. So I'll just choose this one. And when you see these up close, you'll see that one side of the grid is kind of shiny and the other side is a little bit darker. You want this shiny side up, and we're just going to place the grid right next to the Pelco tab so that the sticky edge can kind of keep it in place. And as much as possible, you want to just touch the edges of the grid. So as we do our staining, every volume of liquid that we add to the grid is going to be 10 microliters, and everything is going to sit for just 2 minutes. So I'm going to add 10 microliters of my lysate right to the grid, and I'm not going to touch the grid with my pipette. I'm just going to get as close as I can. and you'll see like a little bubble sitting right on top of your grid. We're going to let that sit for 2 minutes, and we're going to be really careful about our time. So as we get close to the 2 minutes being up, I'm going to get my next liquid ready to go. So next we're going to do a wash with water to kind of clean the lysate a bit. Again, this is 10 microliters. So right now I've got my liquid in the pipette and I've got some Whatman paper ready. So this is ready to go before my timer goes off. And as soon as that 2 minutes is done, I'm going to wick off the lysate with my filter paper and then immediately put my next liquid down. And then that sits for 2 minutes. Then we'll do a second wash with water. I'm ready to go before the timer goes off. 2 minutes is done. I wick off the liquid, then add my next water. Let that sit for 2 minutes, and then the final thing we do is stain with our uranyl acetate. And this whole time we're working with pipettes that are only going to be used at this station. So that second water wash has sat for 2 minutes. I'm gonna wick off that water. And then quickly add 10 microliters of my uranyl acetate. That sits for 2 minutes to stain, and then again I wick that off. And hopefully your grid stays stuck to the Pelco tab a little bit more easily. And then once you take the uranyl acetate off, we will leave your grid to dry. And then once it's done drying, we will, you'll pick a spot where you're going to put your grid into the grid box, and you're going to mark down where you put your grid so that we know exactly how to find it back again.